anything.
Alright guys, we are doing responsive web design, basic HTML and HTML5. Let's go ahead and jump right in. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's basically the bones of the internet at the end of the day. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So you'll see here we have this H1 tag. When we run our code, it's going to say hello. Let's actually zoom in a little bit. This H1 is called a heading tag that goes from H1, H2, H3, H4, H5 all the way to H6. H1 being the largest, H6 being the smallest. And we're going to go ahead and change this content. And you'll see that it will now say hello world when we run our code again. Let's go ahead and run this real quick. It looks like we got a... So we want to have a change our... We're going to create a second one. I just said, as I was saying a second ago, we have our H2. H2 you'll see is going to be slightly smaller. And in this one we're going to put cat photo app. Just going to run that. And you'll see we have a slightly smaller H2 tag. Now, a lot of times you'll use these for headings and subheadings and things like that. And you'll see now we have this paragraph tag. Paragraphs, great way to separate text. Looks like it already had it in there for us. Cool. Oh, for some reason it's showing in here. This is still the beta, so some of this may be going a little crazy. But you'll also see from here we're going to pass in this massive paragraph. It's actually going to wrap down around once it hits the end of the page. There's our sort of filler text, if you will. It looks like it's doing the same thing. Let me go ahead and reset this real quick and clear my code. Make sure we don't have any issues. We run this. Alright, so there's comments in HTML. You can comment things out by using this caret exclamation dash dash. So let's say we just wanted to comment out this first H1 like so, and we run this. You'll see that our first hello world is commented out. A quick way to uncomment and to comment is Control Shift. If you hold Control Shift, then you hit the slash key, it will comment and uncomment what you want it to. So let's go ahead and uncomment, and you'll see everything is back now. We'll clear the code one more time, make sure we're not having any issues here. Alright, so leave the H2 uncommented so that it is visible on your page. So let's go ahead and again it's // there, and we'll move this one. And comment out your paragraph element so it's not visible. Again, we can go ahead and select this and Control / and it'll do it all the same. So now we only have the cat photo app going. And it's asking us to delete our H1. So let's go ahead and remove that. And we'll move this H2 to the top of our editor. Very nice. Again, let's go ahead and reset our code here. So we're going to create a second paragraph element. And you'll notice that when we create this second paragraph element that because it's a new paragraph, it's going to drop down a line. And it's not going to be associated with the other paragraph, exactly as you would expect a paragraph to work. Go ahead and throw that in here. And you'll see it drops down like that. And what else did they want? So in HTML5, they've introduced a lot more tags to that go along with your sections. For instance, the header tag usually goes for like the main header page. You have the footer, which is kind of your footer at the bottom. You have your nav tag, video tag, article, and sections. So the main tag here is going to basically say, hey, this is our main content on the page. And where do they want us to wrap it? Do they want us to wrap it around the H2 tag? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put a main tag in like so. And let's go ahead and hit down /main. I believe that's it. So these paragraphs right now are the main content we have on here. And next we're going to be working with images. So you can put images in your HTML as we've seen on a bunch of web pages, right? The way that you do it is you have this image tag, and so far we've had a closing tag and an opening tag, like in this paragraph and this H2. The image tag is just, there's no closing tag. It's just kind of like an insert, your image insert. And you have this source. This source is the location of your where your photo is. In this case, https yourimagesource.com/yourimage.jpg. If we were to actually throw this in the browser, this would go to a location where the image is, and we'll pull up whatever image this is supposed to be. Oh, that's an example. So let me actually pull up a real picture here. Sorry, that was just something they made up. I don't think that actually exists. It will throw it like here. So this bit.ly will take us to where this image is. There we go. And let's go ahead and insert this image. And the alt tag in here is let me give you the. So it's basically, the alt tag is if there's a screen reader or the image doesn't display or fails to load, it will display that. So let's say that the cat picture doesn't load and we just want to put cat picture or something so the text displays, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and copy this, and we are going to add the image right below the paragraph here, and we're going to just, remember it's just the one tag. Set a source, we're going to set it equal to this. And we're going to have alt equal to cat. Let's go ahead and close that and run our code. And there's our cat picture looking all happy and dandy. The next thing we're going to talk about is an anchor tag. So an anchor tag, it's nice that they add this little image here. I wish they added more images, kind of breaking this down. So this is pretty good for you. So the anchor tag starts with an A. This href is where you want your page to go to. So let's say you want to open a new page, or you want to jump to a different page. You'd use an anchor tag, and you can wrap that around pretty much anything. So you can wrap it around a photo, you can wrap it around text, whatever you want. So in their example, they have a paragraph, and then they have a part of it that just wraps around link to free code camp. In our example, we're actually going to wrap an element. Let's see. They want us to create an A element that links to this location here, freecatphotoapp.com, and cat photos has this anchor tag. So it looks like we are. Okay, it looks like we're just creating an anchor tag. You can do this as well. So we're at a href, and in here we're going to pass in that URL. And then we're going to have a closing tag, and then whatever we want to click on to go to that location. So in this example, we're going to put cat photos as the text. And let's run this. And now we'll have this cat photos. And notice that it's blue, and when we hover over it, the hand becomes a little clicker. So that's one of the ways you can tell that it's an anchor tag. Although that is a CSS property and can be turned on or off. But by default, this will display. Cool. Let's reset this one more time. All right, I think we may be where we need to go. So now we're going to link internal sections of a page with anchor elements. So I'm glad they're adding this, because a lot of people don't know that this is a thing. So let's say you want to make something where I click the link at top, but I don't actually want to go to a different page. I just want to jump to a section on the page. And what you're going to do is you're going to assign an ID to something, and it's going to jump to where that ID is on your page, which is pretty useful. Let's see here. You should only have 2 anchors on your page. First, anchor tag should have an href attribute set to bottom. All right. So we're going to create a anchor tag here, and we're going to set this equal to hashtag bottom. That hashtag stands for ID. And the second anchor tag should have a name attribute set to bottom. So look at the example here. You have a name. Oops. We're going to set this to name is equal to bottom. And then up. Whoopsies. And then up here, we'll have a href is equal to, and I'll put that hashtag bottom. And what's going to happen is when we click on, I want to say jump, we'll just put jump or something in here. I don't think it gave us anything. Oh. I think it maybe wants us to just... Let me read the instructions one more time. Jumping around here. The A tag should have a name attribute set to the bottom. Okay. And the first A tag should have a href. Okay. So let's go ahead and actually delete this ahref. And instead we just want to go hashtag bottom. And when we run it, there we go. What should happen is when we click this, it's going to jump to... it should jump to the bottom. Although, you'll see right here that it actually did... kind of, but because we're in an editor, it's causing a little bit of issues, so we can't really showcase it too well. But definitely keep that in mind, because when you're creating like a single page portfolio or something, and you want people to jump around, and you can assign animations once you get better, so that it's not just, it doesn't instantly jump you to there. All right, so we have the anchor tag again. Nested anchor element with the paragraph. Let's go ahead and run this. So we have this nest your existing anchor with a new paragraph just after main. It says view more cat photos where only cat photos is the link. All right. So what we want to do is we want to have a paragraph here. We're just going to create a p tag. And we're going to say view more, whoopsies, view more cat photos, right? And we're going to take this first A tag, and around cat, we're going to throw this anchor, and we're going to get rid of this second text that we had a second ago. And we're going to take this closing anchor tag, and we're going to nest it right here. So what's going to happen is when we run our code, the only part of it that's going to be an anchor tag is the cat photos section. Not the whole paragraph, but just where we've nested the anchor within the paragraph. All right. Make dead links using the hash symbol. So sometimes you don't want a link to go anywhere quite yet, but you just want to set it to something. So if you want to set it to something and come back to it, you can do what's called a dead link. And you can just set it to a hashtag. So nothing's going to happen when they click it. That's all. So you can also turn an image into a link as well. So far we've only done with text. So we have our remember we have our image here, and what we want to do is we want to just put a anchor tag around it. Wrap it with our A. And in this instance, we're just going to set the href equal to a dead link for the time being. But when we hover over it now, you'll see that it's working. And if you go in the bottom right corner, you'll see it's you'll see the hashtag on there as well, and that the hand is there, not a pointer. There's also unordered lists. So you can create lists in here. Sometimes you use this for navigation or just to have a dotted list or a ordered list. In this case, we're going to be talking about a UL, which is an unordered list, which are basically just going to be bullet points. Each unordered list, this is going to be slightly different, is where they want this. You're going to have sort of this container. We haven't actually talked about containers yet, but you're going to have this unordered list container, and in here, for each one, you're going to have a certain amount of list items. So let's say that our list here is my name, right? My full name. The first list item is Dylan. The second list item is Christopher. And the third list item is Israel. And so let's see what that looks like. You'll see we have these 3 list items right here. And you can style these with CSS in different ways, but right now this is just, again, just the sort of the bones of it, the setup, if you will, is kind of how I think of HTML. So that was an unordered list. There's also ordered lists, which you basically the gist of that is you just have an OL instead of UL, and it will actually number them for you. So it'll go 1, 2, 3. So let's see. You should have an ordered list for top 3 things cats love. You see right here we have our UL right here, and now we're gonna have our top things cats hate. Okay, maybe because I'm a cat lover, I misread that. So within our OL, we're gonna have several LIs, and to save some time, we're just gonna copy pasta this. And let's see, did they give us? So what are things cats hate? Dogs, water, and being awake because they sleep all day, right? So you'll see now when we run this, and let's look down, we have 3. Instead of being the bullet points, it is now the numbered ordered list. That's the only difference between ordered lists and unordered lists. You also have input. So we've all filled out online forms before. Those are called inputs, and depending on what type of input you create, they have types. If it's a simple one-line text input, that the type would be text. And we're going to do that right now. So we're going to have an input here, and we're just going to set the type equal to text. Now, similar to the image tag for the input, there is no ending tag. It's just the one tag. And you'll see right here, now we have our input. We can put Dylan. This doesn't actually do anything yet, but we have our input box, our input text box. There's also placeholders. So as you've seen before, sometimes they have values in here already, and we'll put all you have to do here is add placeholder and set it equal to we'll say placeholder. Oh, it actually gave us a value. So cat photo URL, and when we run this, you'll see that it already has a value in here. One thing to note about placeholders is it just holds a place until there's something in there, hence the name placeholder, right? So if we put cat in there, it no longer has the cat photo URL. All right, so let's continue on. Now, we've been talking about inputs, and you have to have a way to send your data, right? So what we're doing in these inputs are we creating, they're for a form. And so far, we don't have a form element. So let's see where they want us to put it. Make your text input. Typically, you'll have your form element here, wrapping around as a container around your inputs. So we would want our text input here to go like so. Let's pass that in. And then we have this action input. Now this may be a little strange, but basically the action here, you're gonna have a button that basically submits your form data, all the stuff that we're storing in our input boxes, our radio buttons, our checkboxes and stuff like that. And the action is going to do something with it. So for right now, it's just gonna go to submit cat photo. But generating data or getting data in web development is very, as well as generating data, but getting data like this is very crucial. It's actually something I do quite frequently. So I would say get very familiar with getting form data and forms and kind of how it all works. And so I was just mentioning a second ago, you're gonna have to submit the data. One way of doing that is with a button. So let's just go ahead and create a basic button. And by the way, notice that nothing on here shows the word form. This is purely a like a logic sort of thing where you're kind of just containing everything in a form that you're going to do stuff with. It's not going to display on other than the inputs and the button here. So we're going to have a button, and what did they want the text to be? So we need to set the type equal to submit. This is how your form knows when you're done, basically. When you click this button, it's going to submit this action here. It's basically saying, hey, when you click button, go ahead and run the action for the form. That's what's going on right now. And then we want to have the text submit. And we, of course, need a closing tag for that as well. And let's run that. And you'll see we have our submit button right below. Very nice. So there's also this required keyword. So some fields are optional, some are not. If we want a field to be required to actually show it, we can go ahead and add this required keyword. It doesn't have a parameter or anything. And so we click it, we click out. It's this is basically just saying the required. Now, what you may do is, if we try and submit, you'll see that it's going to say something here, or it's going to be red, or because it's not going to submit it because it's required. That's the gist of it. So we were talking about radio buttons before. If you're not familiar with what they are, we're going to show you right now. So we're going to add a pair of radio buttons and labels. So labels are labels for each one of our inputs. Right now we only have the one text input. You may want to have a label that goes with it. Maybe it says, it's your first name. So your placeholder could be enter name, and your label for the input would be first name, would be an example. And we're going to do something similar with radio buttons. So with radio buttons, you can have an input type. They're still inputs. And we're going to have an input. And the type is going to be equal to radio instead of text, right? And then it looks like we are going to give it a name of what? Name of indoor-outdoor. Alright, and we're going to have a label that wraps around it. So in this first one, we'll have a label, close our label, and then what did we want the label to be? The first one was going to be outdoor, or indoor. Let's go ahead and Control-C this. And the other one is going to be outdoor. Let me run this real quick. All right, cool. So you'll see right now that we... Oh, do we have... Why does it say we have 3? Oh, no, it's 2. Sorry. It got nested down. So we have our indoor and we have our outdoor. And as a reminder, if you're not familiar with radio buttons, the way radio buttons work is when they're in a group. And these are in a group because they have the same name, right? So the name is indoor, outdoor. Thus, they're in a group together. There's other ways of grouping it, but this is a basic way. And you can see the values through the label for this as well. Alright, so now let's talk about checkboxes. The main difference between checkboxes and radio buttons you typically select, no, you don't typically. In a group, you only select one. Checkboxes, you select one or more. Or none. You can select as none, one, or more. There you go. So we're going to have 3 checkboxes. And you'll see here that we just have an input type checkbox with the name to show that the checkboxes are kind of for the same thing. Personality as well. And we'll put this right below here. And so what do we want? And we'll, to save some time, we'll just throw a number on here. We'll say this is loving 1. This is loving 2. This is loving 3. And let's go ahead and run this. And you'll see we have all our checkboxes, and you'll notice we can select as many as we want. Alright, let's continue on. So you can also, for a radio button or for a checkbox, by default have one of these checked already, right? So let's say we want the first radio button to be checked because we're just assuming you're indoor. We can go ahead and add this checked value. And let's say the first checkbox as well we want to be checked. We can just add checked in here. I didn't actually know this was a thing, but that's pretty cool. But you'll see when our page loads, these are already checked. Doesn't mean they can't be unchecked. It just means on load, they're already checked. So we've been talking about containers, and we haven't really used them yet. So what a div is essentially a container, and you'll use it for a lot of different things. To move code to the left, to move code to the right, to put everything together. But you're going to be using divs all the time. So let's get our, in this example, we want to get everything in the div. Nest your pay elements inside your div element. Nest your paragraph elements inside your div element. Nest your UL element inside. Alright, so we're gonna, all our text right here, we're gonna put into our own div, it looks like. So kind of how the main section is a container, the div are, you can only have one main, while you can have as many divs as you want. Cool. Let's see where we are in this right now. See if I want to take a break. Oh, we're almost there. We're almost done. Cool. So when you're starting your HTML5 document, the way that you let them know that it's an HTML5 document is this doc type HTML tag. We haven't actually touched on like setting up your structure of your document, but the gist of it is within here, this is where your HTML goes. You have your doc type tag, just the one, and then you have your HTML tags. And within here, we can have our various content. So remember how we at the very first section, we had an H1 tag, and it said hello world. This is exactly what was around it that maybe you weren't seeing beforehand. That just the free CodeCamp editor was showing, just the one piece. And then you have this thing called the head element and the title element. So the title element is essentially this right here in the top left corner, where it is the name of the specific page that you're on, which is basic HTML, and you know it runs on. So the best page ever is the title in here, and which is a bad example because you also have this H1 here, so it may be confusing if you're new. But that title goes in what's called a head tag here. This is basically a bunch of like non-visual data that doesn't actually show up in the page, like right here. So you don't see that title unless you go and look at the tab. Same thing with the icon. You would set the icon here. You would also link files, your CSS files, and a bunch of other stuff here. And then this section would go what's into the body tag. So it doesn't look like they actually have the body tag in here, but below the head you have your body tag. Now your body basically wraps around all of your main content. So you'd have your body tag like so. Alright guys, so that was the HTML and HTML5 section. A pretty good setup to move into style sheets. So I hope you had fun in this section. I really enjoyed it. I like what I'm seeing on the beta at Free CodeCamp. As always, guys, don't forget to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook group, Code Tech and Caffeine, for a lot of good support. And if you want to support me, you can at patreon.com/codingtutorials360. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you're interested in coding bootcamp, check out devmountain.com, where housing is included in your price of tuition. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.